It's just stupendously good, finishing from Aubameyang, who has been one of Europe's best forwards over the last 10. He obviously gets a bad rap because of, the way he carries himself and whatnot. But man, nobody can ever lie and say this man is not one of the best strikers of his generation. One of the best. Hello, hello. I'm Juan Cameron. Beautiful people. Welcome to the Footynotes podcast with here, me, Bonisile. And I'm just going to be talking today about the Champions League outcomes from Gameweek 5. There's lots of games here. I'm not going to be able to go into all of the games. However, I will talk about games that I saw at least 45 minutes off and some extensive highlights. I did see some full games, of course, saw the whole Arsenal game and did a whole episode on that. But I want to talk a lot more about the general picture in the Champions League after game week 5 and do some table talk and things like that. The hard thing with the Champions League is it's really difficult to figure out what results mean. We've played 5 games. There's 3 more game weeks to go in this group league phase. And it's kind of hard to know what anything means. You beat Bayern Munich and, it's on to the next one. And it doesn't guarantee anything, you just have to go one game at a time. So on the one hand, it's still hard to interpret what results mean. But on the other hand, you're getting some really big games in the league phase that you wouldn't otherwise get. Like, I'm trying to think of like Bayern Munich, they've already played Chelsea, they've played PSG, and they've played Arsenal. That doesn't happen in the previous rendition of the Champions League. Arsenal have already played Atleti, and they've just played Bayern Munich. They're going to go away to Inter Milan in the next few game weeks. Chelsea have had big games. They've had Barcelona and before that Bayern. Don't know who else they've had. PSG, Tottenham. I know I like to talk crap about Tottenham because I'm an Arsenal fan, but that's another game that was a big one, which I'll kind of get into a little bit here. But I'm going to start at Anfield. I have to start at Anfield because one of the most confusing things about this season for me is Liverpool's attacking talent being basically outweighed by their poor defensive work. And it was surprising that no senior players came out for the interview after this 4-1 loss to PSV. And I don't want to make this only about Liverpool. PSV still took advantage, still played a good game of football. However, when you look at the numbers in this game, the game was fairly, it was not a 4-1 game. Let's be fair. And as much as, it can be fun as a rival fan to laugh at what happens when teams that you're competing against lose games. This was not a 4-1 game, guys. Statistically, I know some of it is game state that Liverpool had 63% of the ball, but 2.5 XG to 2.17 XG, that was the XG count of this game. Liverpool had 27 shots and PSV had 9 shots, 5 shots on target, scored 4. Liverpool had 4 shots on target, scored 1. But Liverpool hits the post. Liverpool had a lot of territorial advantage. The momentum swing of this game is way, way, way on Liverpool's side of it. And the crazy thing is, let me see if I can share my screen actually, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this without getting into trouble. So actually, you know what? I'm not going to share the screen because I don't know if I can legally share some of the things that I'm looking at here in terms of the websites. YouTube has a lot of rules that as a new creator that I don't quite understand yet, but I use resources to kind of get the understanding of the numbers. I watched the game. To the naked eye, it didn't look like a 4-1. It looks like Liverpool at this moment defensively are getting punished to the highest degree for mistakes that sometimes you can get away with. You know what I mean? 5 shots on target, 4 goals. That's not normal. However, they don't help themselves. Like Virgil van Dijk throwing his hand up towards the ball deliberately. I don't know what was going on there. When you have things like that and your stalwart, your historic figure of a mountain in Virgil van Dijk, who's bailed Liverpool out, so many different times. So we're not going to be sitting here talking about Virgil van Dijk. However, on this day, he's culpable of giving the first goal away. Then, Konate has another brain fart moment later on where he just totally miskicks the ball. Don't know if he misjudges the flight of the ball, what was going on there. But where it comes from the left and it's a good cross. And there's one or two goals there that I'm like, okay, it's just good football. Like it's transition football and there's a nice little one-touch finish. So not everything was about Liverpool errors, but I do feel like Liverpool are getting punished to the maximum for things that go wrong for them, especially as it pertains to their off-the-ball play. And statistically, they're not out of these games. It's just, I don't know what's happening there. And, like as much as it can be fun to laugh at it, it's just one of those things where at this point, I think Arne Slot, he just needs to like really simplify what he's trying to do there. Go 4-4-2 or something like that, where everybody has to play their little role and set yourself up. I know you're a big team, but like maybe set yourself up a bit more defensively for the next 3 games. Like look at the next 3 games and be like, you know what, guys, we're going into these games, clean shit mentality. We'll take a 0-0 than a 1-1 or a 2-2. Like, because I think Liverpool keep you, if Liverpool take the approach they took to the Arsenal game, to me, I know a lot of people will think the Real Madrid game was their best performance. I think their approach to the Arsenal game was their best game that I've seen. And I've watched a lot of Liverpool. And that's why I'm not laughing too hard, because I'm like, there are some individual errors that are happening here. And there's a lot of like, yes, you're missing some all-timers. Alisson is an all-time Premier League great. Trent, as much as Liverpool fans unhappy with the way he left, he's an all-timer. He's one of the best right backs the league has seen. Oh, he is. He is. It's just that, yes, it's salty when one of your own kids who grew up in your academy live the way he did. Mohamed Salah, another all-timer, he's not hitting that height right now, and I don't know what's going on, but like, you can't expect him and Van Dijk and Alisson to continue to be carrying these guys. I think the new generation, the new blood of players now at Liverpool needs to be carrying, not carrying even because these guys are still good. These all-timers are counted. But I think these guys who are newer in the team and younger have to step into that space and take leadership. Then Van Dijk and Salah can have some human performances and you would still win with them in the team. That's kind of like where I'm at with this whole Liverpool thing. I think it's freakish. I really do. I spoke in the last podcast I made. I don't think they're far away from being able to put away teams, and put results like 9, 10 consecutive games of like 7 wins, a draw and a loss here and there. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe I'm naive, but I really believe in the talent in his team. And I don't think Slot has become a terrible manager all of a sudden too. But something is not working for them at the moment. And just when it's not working for you, it's not working for you. And on the flip side of that, I know this team is not in the Champions League, but I want to make an example of this. Like Aston Villa have only beaten a team on XG once in the last, or 2 times in the last 8 or so games. And yet they're on a streak of results that are just like, they're just winning, and sometimes these things can change and flip your way. So like over a 38-game season, I think Liverpool's season is going to be better than what it looks like right now. I can't be a prisoner to the moment in talking about the way they play. Another team that really had a surprising result was Manchester City. They made a lot of changes, which is sensible. I think, looking at that team that started that game against Bayer Leverkusen, I would have been, as a City fan and as a football watching fan, watching both teams, I would have been okay. You know what I mean? I don't want to sound like Mr. 2020 hindsight here. Like the lineup that Pep went with was strong enough to compete in this game. He starts with Ait Nouri at left back. Maybe the goalkeeper was a step too far, Trafford, but John Stones next to Ake at centre back, Lewis and Gonzalez in midfield. Gonzalez is starting in Premier League games, and Rico Lewis has played for England. Like, so there's a team there. Oscar Bob and Savinho in the wings, and you have Reinders and Marmoush. That's not a crazy lineup to go against this, this Bayer Leverkusen team. But as it happened, City lose 2-0, and I'm surprised about this one. I didn't keep a close eye on this game. I watched like the extended highlights and I looked at the numbers. And City again, like they had more XG than 3 times more of the XG than Bayer Leverkusen. Right? They had 19 shots to Leverkusen's 7. They had 7 shots on target, scored none. Leverkusen had 2 shots on target, scored 2. They had 55 to 45% ball possession splitsies. Statistically, again, that's another freakish game because that's what football can do to you. Football can do this thing to you. I know a lot of people, including me, I get tired of the XG thing, but But there's a reason, like, you kind of have to look at that, because the numbers tell a story. They don't tell the whole story, but they tell a story. And we kind of have to respect that as we kind of look at games and trying to make sense of them. So, like, that game was, to me, another freakish result. And I'm sure Pep is chill. He's won too much to be worried about a loss to Bayer Leverkusen in November. But so, like, I think Liverpool is kind of having kind of one of those kinds of seasons as well. But it's just happening too much that you can't even just now look at the numbers. You just kind of have to find some human explanations for what's happening there as well. And I'm open to that, when Liverpool fans talk about, Slot being, the clipboard guy and no emotion and that, they're missing Jurgen Klopp. Of course you miss Jurgen Klopp. He's a great, so I'm not here to laugh at Liverpool fans, but like I as a person who's watching a lot of football, I see a lot of things I like with them on the ball. It's just the ball's not going in and it's going in for the other team. And as an Arsenal fan, I can sympathize with that, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe not so much this year, but been many seasons where I felt like Arsenal were dominating play and the other team would score with their first opportunity. It's happened a lot. This is what happens with football. So the next thing, Liverpool 4-1 loss, Man City 2-0 loss. Chelsea had themselves a night, though, on the other hand. I mean, yes, the game was ruined by the fact that there was a red card. But even with 11v11, Chelsea were my pick to go on and win this game. I was watching this one. And yes, Araujo, the first yellow card is stupid. He gets a bit mouthy with the referee, gets a yellow card, and then gets himself sent off about 12 minutes later. Like, I don't know what you can do with these kids. Like, they talk too much, and I don't understand, really don't understand, like, why they have to talk all the time, footballers. But this is what they do, and then they get themselves into trouble and let their teammates down. They let their teammates down. And this is what he did. He had, it was a bit unlucky with that tackle. I don't think he was going for, an ugly tackle. I think the ball is there. He just misses the ball, just like Konate missed the ball. And gets himself sent off, which is unfortunate for him and Liverpool, because I think there was a rush of blood to the head for Ronald Araujo. And if I'm being honest, Chelsea were going to run away with this game. I just didn't see Barcelona as a match for them. Barcelona under Hansi Flick, they are a frustrating watch if you are invested in them getting the result. They're fun if you don't care and you're just watching for vibes, because they are a very vibesy team. They will play and play and play. They'll do the high line. Thierry Henry was giving on CBS statistically about 100 and something goals conceded since Flick has arrived there. Flick I think this is his second season at Barca. We're approaching halfway and they've conceded about 100 and something goals. If it's not his second season, it's early third season, if not first. I know he's won, but my goodness, like, this man needs to do something about taking some defensive responsibility, because Barcelona ship goals left, right, and center. Offside trap, like, they try to do that again. The first goal that opens it up for Chelsea, Cucurella, they are trying to do an offside trap. He turns out not to be offside. And it works for them sometimes, but my flipping goodness, I just don't understand, like, a team that doesn't learn from experience as much as this Barca team. They just don't. And Chelsea were deserved winners. No fuss here. And Chelsea are stringing a run of good results for themselves. And they will go into this Arsenal game over the weekend feeling really confident. Yeah. Not that those kids are short of confidence. This Brazilian youngster, Estevao, is announcing himself to European football. I don't think he's surprising many people about being a good player, but he's seemingly at this moment forcing his way into being Chelsea's most important attacking player behind Cole Palmer, or next to Cole Palmer. And Palmer is coming back. Maresca said that this morning. Palmer, has not been there for Chelsea for about 6 or 7 games, and they've been winning. I know they've had a somewhat friendly schedule, but they've been winning, and so that's good for them. They're a young team, and they are playing the teams that are in front of them, deservingly second place right now. And it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate their schedule in the spring, because it looks like there's a tough run of games come like March, April for them. But up until then, you can work a lead if you're Chelsea. You don't have a lot of games that are difficult between now and the Christmas periods, and keep on doing what you're doing. Like they play fun football too. They're good to watch. And so like for me, I'm not one, even though I am an Arsenal fan, fair is fair. Chelsea have deservedly the second place team in the Premier League right now. And Sunday's game should be a fun watch for people who love football, because there's two coaches there who are very detail oriented, very prepared for games, and they coach hard. They both coach really hard, not getting drawn into who's better, Maresca or Arteta. They're both really talented coaches and fun to watch their games. Not a big fan of Maresca's abrasiveness sometimes with players, but on the tactical side of things, he is one of the bright spots in the coaching talent in the Premier League and in European football right now. Next game that I got a proper look at was Spurs PSG. This game was full of really good finishes and some comical displays of football within the players. There were players who were making errors in their own defensive half, including the man of the evening, Vitinha, who was a hat-trick hero from central midfield. His finishes were beautiful, like polished, second to none, out of this world type finishes. He has a left-footed finish that curls around Bentancur for his second goal. The first goal is it's a blinder. It's one of those kind of like one touch, side foot, roof of the, like right under the bar and into the net. And it ripples. Great goal. Both of these first two goals. But he does give Spurs a goal. He does give Spurs a goal. But the finish from Colomwani, he's a little bit lucky, but Colomwani has two really strong finishes in this game. One great volley and one thunder, like around the edge of the net, like ground ball, hard hit. And, three of Tottenham's goals, there's two of the three, I would say there's mistake. You can always micro-analyze a goal and find a defensive error. But in this game, you don't even have to micro-analyze to find the comical errors that some of the people made, and especially like Vitinha losing the ball where he did. And then Romero giving the ball to Papsa, who had a tough outing. Papsa, he doesn't see the press coming from behind him. He gets robbed of the ball. PSG score through the Spanish midfielder, Fabian Ruiz. And so this was a really good game, 5-3. I didn't expect that, especially when Tottenham under Frank have chosen to be super conservative against some of these so-called big teams. So this was a fun game, and it's worth a watch. If you didn't see it live, you still have a lot of fun watching it. And this one, again, like a lot of these games, you can't tell the results, like the meaning of the results yet, because all these teams are kind of like clustered near each other, and all of them will be playing teams that are so-called weaker sides soon, and then they will accumulate the points that they need to get to qualification. But it's still fun to have these kinds of fixtures this early in the league phase. And then Mbappe had himself a night to remember, 4 goals. Benny Jr. was a good Robin to Mbappe's Batman, had 2 assists, unlucky to not have had a goal. I think Mbappe or someone was offside early in the build-up to his shot taken, kind of like Thierry Henry style finish. And Vinny, Mbappe Madrid had themselves a night, but like the only worry for Madrid would be the concession of goals. The game ended up being 4-3. It didn't need to be that bad for them. But yes, Olympiacos, they're fighters, great spirit, they never say die kind of vibe. But if you're Real Madrid, you're kicking yourselves in your tails for conceding 3 goals. But you take the win and you move. And then elsewhere in Europe, basically, I won't speak too much on the Arsenal game because I did a whole podcast on it before yesterday. Alba had a fairy tale night in Marseille against Newcastle. 2 really good finishes. Great help from Nick Pope. I don't know what Nick Pope was thinking, especially for that second goal. He gets rounded and Alba just hits it from almost near the corner flag, to finish it. It was a great finish from Aubameyang. The second finish is even better. And you can't really blame I can't blame Nick Pope for that one. It's just stupendously good finishing from Aubameyang, who has been one of Europe's best forwards over the last 10. He obviously gets a bad rap because of, the way he carries himself and whatnot. But man, nobody can ever lie and say this man is not one of the best strikers of his generation. One of the best, 1 golden boot in Germany, 1 golden boot, even though it was a tie in England. I don't remember if he won the Golden Boot in France with Saint Etienne, but I know that he was prolific there. He's just scored wherever he's been. He's had at least one 20-goal season. And even when he left Arsenal, he was still kind of like closer to his peak powers. Went to Spain, played about 17 games, 18 games, scored 10, 11 goals. Great night for him. Great night for Loem and those passionate fans in Marseille. Yeah, like the Champions League, like round 5, basically, like was not a game, too many games of like big stories, but like there were definitely some games of some consequence for some teams. I think Arsenal winning was really helpful to their cause because now I think they will one more win out of the next 3 games. They in the top 8. I don't think there's enough teams that will catch them, and hopefully that allows Mikel Arteta, who I don't think will actually play a change like Pep Guardiola did against Bayer Leverkusen. Pep went all the way rogue and just changed the entire team like his Carabao Cup. I don't think Mikel Arteta will do that, except for maybe in that last game against that team that I don't know from very, very far. Thank goodness that game is a home game, by the way. But yeah, the long and short of it is Arsenal are almost through. And I think Bayern and Inter Milan will also probably be, safe at this point because they both have had great starts, and Arsenal play each other with Inter. After the next game is Brugge, then it's Inter, and then it's that team whose name I don't know just yet. I've seen it before, but my goodness, I just don't know. I think it's Kairat. No, is it Kairat? Wait, where's Kairat from? Kazakhstan. Yeah, it might be Kairat Almaty. Yep, it's Kairat Almaty on January 28th. Sorry, fans from Kazakhstan, for not remembering. Don't even know if I'm saying the name correctly, but that's the team I was thinking of. So I think if Arsenal could win that game, which I think they should, and it's at home, that's 18 points if they lose both of their next 2 games. Don't think that's going to happen. And then they skip the awkward playoff round and they go straight into round of 16. And elsewhere, if I missed any important results, please give me some feedback and let me know what other content that might be better off looking at and adding into my streams. But yeah, I'm enjoying this football season and be looking forward to the weekend games, Premier League games, Bundesliga, Serie A. Keep a close eye in La Liga as well. But yeah, guys, it's been a good round of games. If your team has won, congrats. If your team lost, sorry. I will be chatting to you on the next one. Please like, subscribe, share my content if you enjoy talking football. And if you write a comment, I'm very good at responding. I only have about 80 whatever subscribers. So I'm not a big channel. I'm very, engaged with whoever is in my audience. But for now, hopefully you have a good weekend wherever you are. Cheers.